Hello, hello, hello. Alright, let me just, Acorn? What if I'll give me like a pop-out thing? Sometimes Discord doesn't give you a pop-out thing, it's not like a video call. Hello,
Hey Zulu,
how's it
are we
going?
live?
Yes, we are.
Oh, already. Okay. Uh, yeah. Things are going pretty well. I mean everything except my sleep schedule, which is a complete mess. So like 2 days ago, I couldn't sleep, and I basically binged all of Pluribus from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then which caused basically me not being able to sleep yesterday either. But like I'm awake now. I woke pretty late today, but I am awake and I'm happy to be here.
Well, that's good. Um, yeah, so, I think the first thing, you want to do a couple of things here. The first thing is that LPNH basically like subtweeted you, because we did the Remnant podcast on last Friday. No, it was last Saturday actually this time. Um, and you called into that. It was obviously with Jeremy Kaufman, and someone from
Mhm.
LPNH took a clip of you, and they were not particularly happy about the things you were saying. So do you want to go into that?
Yeah, that clip actually took me by surprise. Like, I wasn't trying to be inflammatory or anything. In fact, I was actively trying to be nicer. I was like, wait, the clip me for that? Um, but I guess I do have a few things I want to say to that. So, a quick anecdote. Back when I was a normie, I knew a bunch of people who thought that mean comments on the internet should be banned to protect people from cyberbullying or whatever. And my position was always, why do you care what randos on the internet think? Which got me a bunch of, well, you've clearly never been on the receiving end of it. But now that I finally got my first ever mean comment, I can authoritatively say that, yep, I really don't see the problem here. So I suppose LPNH was quite tame, so feel free to clip this and throw it back in my face if I ever make a crying video about meanies on the internet.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, my first reaction when I saw the clip was, lol, this is hilarious. I tried so hard to be nice and they still got triggered. Yeah, I mean, I only care about the opinions of actually principled libertarians, and Zulu, Chronic, Man, etc. all like me, so the only thing I could feel at the time was amusement. By the way, shout out to everyone who still Zulus. I love seeing these of these dead, so awesome. Yeah, about the actual clip, I was actually quite tired that night, so I wasn't able to convey everything I had in mind. So I want to just expand on what I said. This is more for like Lulu's audience rather than a response to LPNH because I don't think they're really relevant enough to a proper response. So when I got to say my follow-up, the part that was clipped, there had been a long back and forth since I last spoke, and Mohop was about to move on to the next person when he remembered to call me up for a response. So it kind of took me by surprise, and I was like, oh wait, I had something I wanted to say. Wait, what was that again? But during one hot summary of nominalism, I used the 100 emoji, but I forgot to affirm it in my follow-up. So shout out to one hop for the great critique of nominalism. Um, so I wanted to push Jeremy on his statement that immigration constitutes aggression, but when he basically said aggression is whatever anyone wants it to be, I instantly lost interest. I was just like, well, this is just a bunch of normie fluff. Like, what is there even to respond to? So in my response, I wanted to say that I expected Jeremy to provide a counter argument to what I said, but he instead just dodged my questions while demonstrating zero knowledge of praxeology. However, since I had previously heard Zulu talk about how Jeremy defended him in New Hampshire, I was like, hey, this Jeremy guy, he seems like a cool guy. I don't know if he's so mean. So that's why I added a whole bunch of like, oh, hey, I think you're a decent guy. I don't mean any disrespect. That's not like the end of Lulu's stream when he watched the clip and he commented on the part where he assumed by calling Jeremy a normie would annoy him. And I don't sacrifice honesty even when I do play nice. And like I said, I actually didn't mean any disrespect to Jeremy when I called him a normie. Not everyone has the time to properly study philosophy deeply. There's division of labor. Normies can still help advance the movement. And I meant it when I said that Jeremy was a force for good. Like bringing libertarians to New Hampshire is a valid strategy. I still also stand by what I said about Jeremy being a normie. By his own admission, he's an entrepreneur, not a philosopher. and he called immigration a violation of the NAP, which is a philosophical concept. Yet he doesn't seem to understand the praxeologic basis of what actually constitutes aggression. Last thing I want to say is that I respect those who have libertarian intuitions. However, those intuitions need to be backed up by rigorous philosophic study. Lord Valen is a good example of this. During an anarcho gaming VC, we were talking about our journey to libertarianism. When I asked Valen, he said he's always been a libertarian. I jokingly asked if he was reading Rothbard in the room, and it turns out, yeah, more or less. But Valen has a strong philosophic understanding, which is why he's been in the vanguard for so long. On the flip side, someone with libertarian intuitions, but only libertarian intuitions, often turns out as a very station libertarian, such as Dave Smith, which is why I said that I hope that Jeremy Kaufman would eventually get into philosophy. Yeah, Dulu, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, no, I mean, I already responded to it on the last stream on the Remnant, but yeah, at least now it's out there.
Yeah. So for today's debate, I'm mainly interested in the theory, the abstract principles of what counts as an aggression. I don't care about how things would quote unquote work in reality. I have a few old questions on practicality listed there somewhere, so maybe we can make a quick comment on those. But since theory is theory about reality, once you have the theory down, the rest just comes naturally. For example, we know from the theory that group ownership is a contradiction and therefore can't exist. But some people might complain about, what if I want my wife and I to have equal say over a house? And we can tell them, screw you, it's not my problem. The legal theory doesn't care about your feelings. Deal with it. Oh, if they're a filthy pragmatist subversive, of course. But if it's someone like more genuinely trying to understand things, we can respond that you can create de facto group ownership through contract theory. For example, we'll contract that like the husband owns the house, but whenever there's a dispute over the house, for example, if the husband wants to paint the walls yellow, but the wife refuses, the ownership will transfer to the one who opposes the changes in the house. I mean, this kind of leads things to getting static. So you can also add a clause that if 10 changes have been like reached in a row or something, the house is transferred to like a third party, and they tell it to split the money. Like none of this actually involves group ownership. The
Yeah,
point
and
is like all of this stuff
I
downstream
think
from legal theory.
one thing I like about this, you know, it obviously isn't, you know, incumbent upon reality to give us a theory of law which works well or anything. But there is something which I've realized is actually a lot superior about this way of thinking about it. You know, if you are going to be thinking about like, oh well, I want these very specific structures, it's actually you can get that when you don't have it be actual group ownership. When you have it be actual group ownership, well, it's okay. Well, then it's just set in stone. The jurist will just declare from on high exactly how that's always going to work. However, it would fucking work. Obviously, the contradiction. So I couldn't even begin to explain to you how that would work. But then that's going to be a one size fits all thing. Whereas, you know, what you've just explained there, where because you've got to work it out with contract theory, it becomes an actual engineering problem. Like, okay, how do we actually, and then that forces you to engineer out what you really want. Well, we don't want it to be too stagnant. So if it's too stagnant for too long, it goes to this other guy, and then it goes to this, you know, and then you can actually start working that out. Whereas you can't really work that out if it's just, no, they just both own it. And then we just have no way of actually doing anything here, right? It just becomes a lengthy legal battle at that point, which is, you know, what happens with every, you know, every,
like
you know,
status.
bad divorce out there. Like, you know, a really messy divorce. Like everybody's seen that type of thing where it turns into like years long legal battle. Legal. Yeah.
There's two things I want to comment on that. One is that I sometimes like try to speculate on what contracts would look like once the free market actually gets in there and do its thing. I mean, the sort of contracts that we talk about when discussing like the jurist part of things are often like really simple, right? We can say that like, oh, for a company, you can have like the CEO own everything, and they have contracts on like under what circumstances maybe the board like all votes, and on that circumstance, it gets transferred to like the next person who becomes CEO, and like all the assets get transferred on. Like that's just one speculation of something that could happen. Like obviously, we're not central planners; we don't know how things would work in a free market. But I just feel like with contract theory, there are so many really cool and complex things you could probably do with it that I just can't even think of on my own. So yeah, what's the other thing I want to say? All right, about like the whole you shouldn't like think about like just reality just be well that the NLP doesn't make me happy or whatever. For starters, that's just primacy of consciousness. Like it doesn't satisfy my whims, therefore it's false. And I think I remember seeing I think it was like what Kinsella wrote about, like a tour through Waterblock Louvre or something like that, an article where I can't remember who made the argument. I think it might be Block, who said that like, well, some people might be unhappy about how you technically can't actually sell a slave contract isn't valid, even if both the slave master and the would-be slave want the contract to be valid. Like it just can't be valid, and that's just deal with it. Like you can't like just ask the legal theory to be what you want it to be. The legal theory is what it is. It doesn't satisfy your whims.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like, the number one retort to any time anybody is saying like, no, that's an invalid contract. Like, well, what if I want it to be that way? What if I want this? It's like, well, an I want doesn't establish anything. Like we're talking philosophy here. Just saying I want contradictions to be true. I want it to be where both me and my wife both own this house and everything will always go properly and it'll never arise in conflict. I just want that. Like, well, tough. And this is kind of like the naive way that people approach anarcho-capitalism quite a lot, where it's like, oh, so long as it's like contractually agreed upon, then it's fine. But, as I've pointed out before, that's a stolen concept fallacy, because contracts are contracts about property. You can't have contracts coming first. It can't work that way. You end up with contradictions abound.
Yeah, I think the stolen concept fallacy happens so much in like popular libertarian culture that's like not actually rooted in the philosophy.
Mhm.
For example, a lot of videos on the internet just think of anarcho-capitalism as well businesses and contracts and stuff, but like businesses aren't the primary either.
Mhm.
And this is something I try to point out with Jeremy Kaufman. Like I asked him two questions. The first was on his saying that like it's an aggression to like immigrate. My second question that I tried to push him on was that. Sorry, I just had a brain fart. Do you remember what the second question? What was I going to say again?
Was it something to do with nominalism? No, I don't think so.
Oh no, I was talking about how he compares everything to like the ideal ANCAP society. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
it. He said that everything he compares to the ideal ANCAP society, and if it will bring us closer to the ANCAP society. And I basically said that the ANCAP society isn't the primary. The
Yeah.
NAP is the primary. Like, how do you even identify what an ANCAP society is without the NAP?
Mhm.
So yeah, like this stuff happens so much
Because that's the
when
whole
like people
error
just
with
don't study philosophy.
David Friedman. Is he's like, well, it's a society which just rises on the market. It's like, okay, well, how do you identify the market in the first place? What is the market? What does that mean? And if you're Rothbard, then you just answer, well, it's NEP compliant. It's unhampered. That's what he meant by the unhampered market without aggression. But obviously Friedman can't go to the NEP for that because he rejects the NEP. So it's completely unclear what he means by something arising on the market in any sense. I don't. I've never understood what that meant.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think like any David Friedman ever managed to explain that. They're just like, oh, market. Well, you know what the market is.
Mm.
I'm like, yeah, we know. Do you?
I should. That's by the way. That is something I should definitely. I've been meaning to get around to. Like, I've got like a list of people I need to properly like send like a debate resolution to and get a debate time in. David Friedman's one of them. Um, I think I can probably get a debate with him. I don't know. I don't know if he does debates, like online debates, much, but we'll see.
Yeah, like definitely like to see you debating some of those big names out there, and David Friedman is definitely one of them. Um, okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I binged entirety of Pluribus like less than 2 days ago. So I guess we can move on to like a quick chat about that. Um, so I actually knew about Pluribus before you recommended it. Like I watch a YouTuber called Friendly Space Ninja for TV recommendations sometimes, and Pluribus was on his 2025 top 10 list.
Mhm.
And I recently, like, after I watched the actual Pluribus series, I went back and checked out his video on it again. And in his like summary of Pluribus, he said that Harold was designed to be unlikable, and the description Apple TV gave for the show was the most miserable person on earth has to save the world from happiness. And I'm kind of curious what you thought about Carol. Like, I actually kind of like Carol at the start.
Yeah, so I mean, I was discussing this with Nye actually, because he also found Carol somewhat unlikable, and he was wondering if it was deliberate. And like, my view on that is, like, imagine if you were in that situation where everything is taken away from you. Your wife is dead. Everybody you know is dead or like turned into a zombie. Like, there's no your entire life's work is this, book that these books that you're working on, and that has no meaning anymore. Because you're the only fucking person on Earth for all intents and purposes, except for 12 other people. And yeah, there will be spoilers here, guys. So
Oh
skip
yeah,
ahead and
spoiler alert.
so, um, apart from these 12 other people, and they all hate you. Like, you'd be a little bit, you wouldn't handle it necessarily with like, decorum. Like, and specifically my theory. I'll go into this way more when I get finished with the Pluribus video,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm making a video on Pluribus. But my theory with Carol is that she's kind of like a halfway road between the Diabete, I think his name is, like the French guy who's just a total hedonist, and he's just like, oh great, now I just get to live out all my fantasies and none of it actually matters, versus Manusos, who is like, no, we got to live in reality here effectively. Like, I think Manusos is like a Randian hero,
Mm-hmm.
effectively. Like, I love Manusos so much, and Carol's kind of like walking the middle road. It's very much like Atlas Shrugged, like how, you know, Dagny Taggart, she is making these bad decisions, and she's kind of like, annoying some of the people who are on strike. Um, but I think that's why it's so interesting to follow her as a character. Um, I think it's necessary that she's not just this immediate, oh, I immediately am going to deal with this in the perfect way possible, and I'm going to,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be, I want there to be that progression from Carol just kind of, going through the different stages of how does she get to being a champion for humanity, and I think she can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Um, I think a big challenge for me, like really liking Carol at the start, was I think the biggest challenge was actually just she's not Menusos. Like I came into the show, like I heard you talking about Menusos. I'm like, yeah, I'm here for Menusos. Where on earth is Menusos? When do I get to see him? And like I think I was like making some comments on the Anarcho Gaming server, like while I was watching, and like 3 episodes in, and I don't get to see Menusos. um, yeah, talking about speaking of Manusov, I really like Manusov as well, for keeping to his principles, his tenacity, and also his ANCAP speech about how the hype man stole everything. Um, but like, I think that I do agree that Manusov is a really good Randian hero. Um, as in like, well, in art is about concretization of metaphysics, right? I think Manusov is a really good at that. But on, I think I mentioned previously that when I watch TV, I really like analyzing the legal situation of everything, and like I think that when I go through Manusos's actions very autistically, I think that some of it is unnecessary. So if I feel like if I were to like be in that situation, like the Cerberus situation, I would be very tempted by like all the luxuries, and like I'd really want to like live like the French guy, and I would want like I can't buy like the NIP, so I'm going to like try to justify something which I don't think are violations of the NIP, and so basically I think you said previously that Minusos basically does everything that you would do, but I don't think personally that I would do everything that Minusos does, and I'm gonna see if I can justify that. Um, I think one thing that I want to point out is that I don't think that the hive mind actually has free will. Do you agree with that?
Um, I think that's very. very much possible that they, um, yeah, I might have to think more about that, but it's very, I can definitely see where you're coming from, where they don't have free will, because it seems
Hmm.
like they like have these like strict guidelines that they've got to follow. They don't really have choice in the
Hmm.
matter. They've got to
Yeah.
try and the second something goes awry, but like then again, it's also because if the hive comes to a decision, then that's just going to be the decision there on out. Like, so it's difficult to parse out what exactly um, it would mean for them to have free will. Like, I suppose one level of analysis would be, I doubt that Vince Gilligan has gone this far because I don't think he's researched objectivist epistemology. But the question would be, can they form new concepts? And it's like, well, maybe they could form new concepts. Maybe they can choose to, evade, or you know, it's. I couldn't give a definitive answer there. I don't think.
Okay, so based on the show, the hive mind does talk about like a biological imperative, and I think like
Mm.
around 3 episodes in, when I realized that they can't lie, I'm just like, wait, this thing just like seems really similar to like AI, and I feel like it's just
Well,
sort of like a
I do want
large
to just
language
chip in
model.
there. They
Mhm.
can't lie explicitly, but they can lie by omission, and they're very good at lying by omission. And like as an aside, sorry to like cut you off completely, but I just have to
No
share
problem.
this theory publicly, in case I get proven right. As an aside, I, I was listening carefully when they were describing to Carol in like the first episode. She was like, "Oh, what about the president and like the all those people?" And they're like, "No, they're dead." What about the people on the space station and in nuclear submarines? It's like, no, we got to them first. They didn't actually. She never actually asked them explicitly, because she said, "Well, how many other people are there like me?" in the second episode, and they said, "Oh, 12 others." Now that could be interpreted as how many other people who are immune, right? So there could still be
Mhm.
some like deep underground government facility that they never got to, where those people aren't like Carol. They're not immune, but they're not infected either. I just had to get that theory out there because we have seen them lying by omission quite a lot, and that would be a big lie by omission if they managed to sneak that one past Carol.
Yeah, I think that definitely like tracks. Um, I don't think that's like concrete proof, but it's definitely possible. I don't see anything to
And,
disprove
and
it.
and the reason why I
But
came to this theory is because the only way I could see where they could actually reasonably claw back all of humanity is if they had some amount of help. This is when I was watching the original episodes where it was just Carol alone. Like, yeah, she's gonna need some fucking help here.
I mean, do you understand what Manusas was trying to do with the radio frequency? He thinks
Um,
that he was able to get it back just with the radio frequency.
yeah. So I think initially he was just listening out to see if there are other people like him, and he was noting down any interesting frequencies. But yeah, now from what we know, it definitely seems like they communicate somehow over radio frequencies. So you could perhaps disrupt that.
Mhm. Hmm. Yeah, well, I'm definitely interested to see where the show goes. But back to the technicality of like the legal situation. I'd argue that if the hive mind indeed doesn't have free will and it's basically just an AI, then it'll basically be a force of nature. So technically, it wouldn't be capable of stealing anything, and therefore, like, actually, here's another tangential question. Like, what is the status of everyone who's being converted to a hive mind? Like, because if they counted as dead, then if like the whole world is just dead except for the 12 people remaining who are immune, then technically everything is just seeded back into nature and everything can be homesteaded, right?
So I think the best way to uh, look at the hive mind, at least from a literary perspective, is that it is stolen those people's bodies. I mean, that's at least Manusos's perspective, that they've stolen those bodies. Um, Now, if it is just like a disease where it makes them super agreeable or whatever, you could describe it. If that was like literally how it worked, in like the science of the show,
Mhm.
um, then yeah, you would be able to take advantage of that quite a lot. Even though like, yeah, it becomes strange because at that point it's almost like they're children, right? They can't
Mhm.
communicate their will. Their will has been suppressed by this virus. So it's like the world has just turned into 12 adults and billions of children.
Mhm. Yeah. I actually think there's two arguments I can make that doesn't depend on the law of the show. So one of them is that if even if like the hive mind is just has their body stolen by an actual conscious being, um, like you can I think that you said previously that you posited that you can't steal it's not possible to steal a penny to save the world because there's no one who wouldn't be willing to give you the penny for free to be able to save the world. So I would like to posit instead that it's not possible to steal an ambulance to save the world because
Mm,
everyone because like Manusas is trying to save everyone, right?
yeah.
So everyone would be willing to like give him their resources for him to accomplish his quest.
Yeah, absolutely. So from like a pure legal perspective, it's probably unnecessary that he's like leaving like the money for the guy's gas and so on and so forth. That's probably unnecessary. But I obviously from the aesthetic standpoint, it's very important that
Mhm.
he does do those things. So it's very clear just how distinct to the hedonist he is.
Yeah, I definitely agree that like from the aesthetic perspective, like Menusos is a really good concretization of the ANCAP ethics. But I also mentioned that I'm very like autistic when it comes to legal theory.
Mm.
So while I do think that I still really like Minusot, and I think that he's a great hero, but like I do like to also dig into legal theory. Okay, technically he can do these things and it's not an aggression. And the other thing I want to point out is that well basically everyone in the world is well either technically dead or technically children, or they're just normal people who've had their bodies stolen by a hive mind. But that basically means that like what everything like it's basically well for example South America is basically Ankabistan now, right? Because the state is gone because every state official is either children dead or like stolen. There's no state officials anymore, so it's just Ankabistan. And which means that there's no one to forestall all the public property, and all the public property were like unknown, are technically unknown because well you can't have group ownership. So the state's just been forestalling all the unowned property that's been public. So really, like a good anarchist can just travel across America, pillaging every state asset along the way. And in the case like you know how
Ironically,
he
that guy who took Air Force One, he was being a good ANCAP there.
yeah, exactly. And like, I actually checked, and you know when Manusas got taken away to the hospital, and he woke up and asked to like pay the bill for it. I think the like translation of the okay, let me just check. Yeah, so the hospital Manus was treated at was called the Panama City Medical Institute, which is a public hospital,
There
meaning
you go.
everything there is unknown, including the ambulance.
Yeah, there you go. So Manuso is vindicated completely.
Yep. So he's basically like an better than just an ANCAP.
He's
Uh,
Walter Block's ideal hero.
exactly. But yeah, I've got another question I wanted to ask, which is, does the does the status of whether they count as gone or not depend on the reversibility of the thing? So let's say hypothetically this whole thing was non-reversible. Does this conclusively mean that like everything everyone previously owned is seeded back into nature?
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, I have some other questions. I was about to ask like if the answer to that was no, but hmm, okay, I guess we can like come back. There's like a different question I'll ask later that is somewhat related to the reversibility question, but that's all the questions I have for Pluribus now. But yeah, great show. Zulu, you definitely recommend me a good one there. I'd look for you to look to you for more recommendations in the future, and no spoilers anymore. Anyone who wants to watch a good show, watch Pluribus.
Indeed.
Okay, let me just move. I guess we can like get started on the main part of the debate now, and there's something that I wrote down which I want to say like before we get into the debate. So in the last debate, I saw that some people in the chat were saying that like Acorn got trashed. Some people saying that like Dulu got destroyed. So I want to clarify that like no one is getting wrecked here. This isn't blood sport. It's like a student learning from a master, but a student doesn't just passively absorb. He pushes back on anything that doesn't make sense until it does. As I mentioned in the first debate, like this is how I arrived at anarchism. I used to be a normie feminist, and then when I stopped calling myself a feminist, it was actually because I felt it was wrong to call myself a feminist when I don't know any of the actual theory. And as leftists like to say, it's not the job of oppressed minorities to educate you. Educate yourself. So I did, and I immediately found that like the whole theory is just garbage. That's when I started looking towards the conservatives and the manosphere, as they were the ones who were against feminism. Like they had no actual philosophy. But at the same time, because they had no actual philosophy, there wasn't really much for me to critique, which is why I stayed a conservative for an embarrassingly long time. But I eventually found SFO, who introduced me to classical liberalism and John Locke. And at some point, I agree with most of what Dev believed, but Menzies wave was a catalyst that got me to take negative rights more seriously. So I basically took negative rights to its logical conclusion and arrived at most of anarchism. My main problem at the time was not knowing how to properly justify negative rights. I was kind of a moral anti-realist there. But then, Dulu, you fixed that, and with your video on law. So yeah, that's where I am today. But my whole bunch of tendencies are still here. So I'm like constantly trying to look for holes in legal theory, which is why we're having this debate right now. So yeah. Um, so I tried watching back the last debate as to like prep for this debate, and I got really confused the second time. Oh, last time, Dilly, you got pretty tired, and I happened to also get brain freeze at the same time. I don't know, maybe we're connected by an alien virus. When one of us crashes out, the other starts convulsing. But yeah, I have notes. Basically, like when I do these debates, I have notes written up on different arguments, like counter arguments against ones that you've made, and when you change your stance on something, I have to like read through my counter argument to see like which ones are still relevant, or like maybe I fail to predict your answer to something, and I need to like check like which ones I need to go to next. Yeah, basically, dude, like feel free to like change your mind on anything you said before. Like I'm not gonna nail you down like okay, you said this previously, therefore like I'm just gonna nail you on this one thing and like not allowed to say anything. Like I'm debating you like at everything you believe now.
Mm.
But like as I said, so in the first debate, um, like you like during the debate, you like came with a few propositions that either we didn't fully like get to, or like I didn't have like a response to back then. So in the second debate, I wrote a few things on that, but then I think you like change your answer to a different one. So, and then like, I think that Nikola Pavkovich in chat was like commenting on like how like you got something wrong or something. So I got really confused about what you believe currently. So I just want to like ask a few clarification questions on the whole mens rea and actus rea thing. So I guess the first action is what mens rea and actus rea, and just to get through the other questions, the second is what does an accident involve actus rea, and I guess we can move from there.
Sure. So, actus reus is these are Latin terms. Mens rea, guilty mind. Actus reus, guilty action. So, actus reus is the literal fact of your action under our theory, is initiating a conflict, right? Whereas mens rea is you are deliberately doing that thing, which is initiating a conflict. And now, I want to clarify because there's confusion over mens rea. I remember, way back when, back in Michael Marino's server. In fact, I was having this debate with people where, you can have mens rea whilst thinking your action is justified. right? If I am the classic example is a Nazi prison guard on the tower and he sees an escaping Jew. Now he might think it's justified to shoot that Jew because of German law or whatever, right? He might have some justification for shooting that Jew, but he is deliberately doing the action of shooting a Jew, so that is mens rea. Whereas if he was accidentally, and this answers your second question, if he accidentally did something which, the classic example would be walking along and you accidentally step on somebody's like flower garden, right? Their prized roses, because you're just not paying attention. That wouldn't be mens rea because you weren't like, I'm going to stomp that rose into the ground. But it would be actus reus because you are damaging their property. And so you would owe them restitution there, but they wouldn't be allowed to enact retribution against you. Retribution only comes in when there's mens rea present.
Okay, so on the so basically, when it comes to action, I remember previously you've differentiated between, like, for example, if you're just there's a difference between you trying to shoot at someone and you just shooting a gun, and then it because of an accident, like it accidentally hit someone, right? So I'm wondering, like, how you justify whether to call the action of the Nazi shooting the Jew, well, the Nazi shooting the Jew, or why is it wrong to frame it as the Nazi is shooting at a criminal who he needs to execute because the Jews are like guilty of treason under German law?
So that carries a lot of baggage there because you're saying a criminal who he needs to execute. Well, that's already assuming that he's correct in his justification. His justification is true that this is actually a criminal and he does actually need to kill them, right? That's assuming he has the actual correct interpretation of law and he is correctly applying it here. Like, okay, well, actually, we have proven that this guy is a criminal and we need to get rid of him. That's why you have to break it down beyond that abstraction of criminal. So you break it down to the literal things that are happening. He's shooting at a Jew. Why is he shooting at a Jew? Because he thinks Jews deserve to die. Now, is he correct that Jews deserve to die? Maybe he is, right? And then you can evaluate that. And as it turns out, he's incorrect about that. Jews don't deserve to die. So this is just murder.
So is it the case that basically anyone who has a non-ANCAP legal theory, that doesn't change the fact about their mens rea in any action they take?
Yeah.
Okay. So last time I also mentioned a question about the judge and executioner accidentally executing the wrong person. So basically, the scenario is they did the due diligence of gathering the evidence, and the evidence all pointed towards the fact that this person is in fact guilty, and it's like the evidence is heavily stacked against that person, and the person is guilty of murder. So the judge passes the judgment and the executioner executes the person. But then later on, new evidence resurfaces that actually this guy was framed by the actual murderer, and like he did a really good frame job because they were late to catch it. So in this case, like, is there mens rea or not?
Okay, so the frame job I think actually changes it. Because I think the frame job makes the judge into basically a tool of the framer, and the framer is using the judge as a means to do this. So I think that might actually absolve the judge of culpability. But if it was just somehow it just all the facts conspired against this guy, he was just really, really unlucky or something, and it very much looked like he was a murderer, then I think his judge has mens rea but no actus reus. But I think if it's an actual frame job, there's actual like intention to deceive, I think that changes it, because you can imagine such a frame job. How would you pull it off? You'd pay off the defense attorney and everything, like, so you're like actually deceiving the judge here to doing this thing, and I think that makes it no longer like his fault in any way. Like it's not even. I don't know if I actually. Maybe I'm wrong about that actually, because actus reus is just you're doing the literal thing, which is a crime. So he is doing that literal thing, which is a crime. So it definitely makes you look a lot differently on the judge. I would have to think more about that if he still has actus reus in the case of deception being a food. I think it's different, but I'm
Okay,
not
sure.
sure of it.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Like, with any questions that like you're not too sure, I'm happy to just move on, and then maybe another time.
Yeah, I think
we
that was
can
my
talk it out
main
in that time.
mistake in the last one we did. Um, because I was just, I think the Dave Smith debate was literally the next day.
Yeah, I know.
So
Sorry, I didn't notice.
I was very much like, I just did not even like consider the possibility of, I haven't thought of that before. So we'll have that possibility now.
But yeah, just a heads up. For starters, I'm like super nervous for all of these debates actually. So I'm too busy on trying to not make a fool of myself in front of a live audience. So even today, like, don't expect me to notice if you're super tired. If you're tired, just tell me explicitly.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So we also had an example. Just started like during the first debate we had. So on a hiker accidentally trespassing on a farmland, and on that case, previously you framed it as the hiker isn't like trying to just bulldoze his way through the actual farmland. His action was getting to point B, and that's so he's not actually choosing all the individual steps that he's taking. So in that case, do you think that there is actus reus, or not? I don't think that's mens rea, right?
Yeah, I think there's actus reus. He's just inadvertently trespassing. And to be clear, even further, like, if this wasn't due to his negligence, but just this place wasn't actually like fenced off at all or anything like that, there was no signposting, then I would say it's just they haven't actually completed homesteading of it.
Ah, okay.
And also, I'll say to the super chats, I'll read the super chats at the end.
If you see any super chat that might be like relevant to the debate, for example, someone's trying to make an argument or something, feel free to read those.
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, so on to back to the whole fake fox pretender thingy. It was actually something that you brought up during the first debate. So I was like, is it active rare or mens rea when you like try to shoot a target, but then someone accidentally like doesn't realize you're shooting and walk past and just get caught in the crossfire, and then you compared it to if someone was in a really lifelike fox costume, and they're like off in the woods, and basically like if you accidentally shoot them, your action would be shooting at fox. So previously you said that there's there's actors rare, but not mens rea. But then I got so confused because you took a different position when you were quite tired in the last debate. So I'm just wondering for your current position on this. If someone is in a really lifelike fox costume, and they're out in a like unknown woods, so unhomesteaded woods, and someone basically it's a really remote woods like that people rarely go in, but like just one unfortunate day, some lone hiker from like a really far away just happened to across these woods and decided to start hunting and accidentally shoots this person because he didn't realize that he's shooting at an actual person. He thought he was shooting at a fox. Is there is this an accident, or is it just not a? Is there just no conflict at all? Like, is there actus reus or actus mens rea?
So this depends entirely on whether the person in the fox costume is negligent or not. Now, I think in the basic case, they are negligent. Like they're walking around in the woods where, you know, foxes and deer and stuff like that get hunted. Like it might have been a deer at one point. The hypothetical. So if he's being negligent in that way, I just don't think there is a conflict. Just like there isn't a conflict if I am, intending as I step off this cliff to fly away, and then grr, reality, smacks me in the face, and as it turns out, I fall to my death. I might be intending to walk around in the woods with hyper realistic animal costumes and not get shot. As it turns out, I am enticing being shot by hunters because that's the thing which happens on Earth. Now, if you maybe like change it to where he doesn't have negligence, um, yeah, it could definitely be that the hunter has actus reus, but not mens rea. I don't think the hunter would ever have mens rea in this situation because he doesn't. He's
Yeah.
just not trying to shoot a person here, presumably.
Okay, so it's the question of what are the standards for what's the term again? Um, the standards of negligence. That's it. If the standards of negligence is that part of the jurist job, or not? And if it is part of the jurist job, what exactly is the standard for negligence?
Um, I don't know if there's like a fully worked out theory of negligence. There might be, but like I've just been going off of I know it when I see it. Like if I'm, you know, to prove negligence in someone, that's going to be a whole can of worms, which obviously I won't be interested in. But
Mm.
to just what is negligence? It's when you are, you know, having a guilty action without the guilty mind. I think that would be a good enough preliminary definition of it.
If the okay, I don't. If that's a preliminary definition, I don't think it will fit in this case. So you're saying a guilty action, but not a guilty mind.
How about
In this
instead?
case,
How
for
about to perhaps preempt this? Um, negligence would be where you are um, acting in such a way that leads to conflict without having the guilty mind. So maybe you are not even the one with the guilty action there, because there might even not be a guilty action, right? In the case of, you know, me being at fault and I'm just running along and I run in front of a firing range because I'm just stupid or something. Because I don't think I'm doing guilty because I can't be guilty against myself there.
Mhm. Do you think there is a valid reason to separate it into two types of negligence? One where you lead to like so you said that negligence is where you lead to your actions lead to a conflict. But do you think it should be split up into the type of negligence where, for example, you know you're a sleepwalker, but you left your gun like not locked away anyways, and you happen to sleepwalk and shoot someone? Like that negligence that leads to you violating someone else's rights. And there's the Fox example where your negligence leads to your own rights being violated.
Um, so I think those are two different things. With respect to punishment, because obviously in one case there is no restitution.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the concept of negligence itself needs to be split up because it's all the same concept. Whatever the best definition of that concept would be, where you're just kind of, you know, lollygagging through life. It's drift basically,
Mm-hmm.
in objectivist terminology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so because I want to like inductively get a better understanding of what negligence means, I've got a different hypothetical to ask you. So let's say that Crusoe is went onto a desert island, and it's like a pretty small island. There's no one around, but like it's big enough to have like a small woods on it. And Crusoe sees that there's no one around and decides to basically build a small hut somewhere near the island. And Crusoe
Near the island,
sometimes enjoys just
presumably
going
on the
out and
island.
huh? Oh yeah, sorry. I mean near the woods on the island. Yeah, sorry, my bad. But yeah, so Crusoe enjoys like just prancing around the woods in a realistic fox costume in his spare time, and he doesn't actually get properly homestead the island because well, he doesn't place any objective markers around the island. So I guess in this case, the island would be technically unknown. But one day, Friday was on a ship, and his ship accidentally like ran out of supplies, and he doesn't have any fuel anymore. And he was able to like paddle on a life raft. He sees the island in the distance and paddles to the island. And he's like, okay, I've got some firearms on me. I've got to survive on this desert island now. And he goes into the woods to hunt. But he arrived like on a different side of the island to the hut that
Hmm.
Crusoe built. So he doesn't like notice anything about this island like being like inhabited in. and he sees something that looks like a fox and shoots, but it's actually Crusoe. So is this a case of negligence or not?
Yeah, I think it would be, very slight negligence on Crusoe's part. Obviously, like, I mean, ultimately, he should have, he could, it's possible for him to have realized, like, hey, if I get marooned here, it's possible for other people to get marooned here. And, if my fetish is running around looking like a very realistic animal and somebody else gets marooned here, then it's entirely possible that they shoot me by mistake. So I think he is still being negligent there.
I feel like the requirements to avoid negligence seems pretty high, since the chances of let's say that Crusoe intentionally went out to find this island, so that he can like play on it himself. And as I said, it's a really small island. The
Well, then
chances of
if he
someone
wants to
just
keep this
having to
island for
maroon there
himself, like you've said it there, like he intentionally went out to find an island where he can be by himself, well, then put some work in to make sure that you're by yourself.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that argument. But I think that what counts as negligence is a very interesting topic to explore maybe another time.
Mhm.
I mean, do you think it's something to? Do you think it's a right paradox? Like do you think there's a principle? Obviously, there's a principal difference between two sides, right? Like there's no negligence on one side and there's negligence on one side. So do you think it constitutes a rights paradox to determine like where's the boundary between negligence and no negligence?
By that, are you like meaning like a continuum problem?
Oh, sorry. Continuing problem. That's what I meant.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it would be a continuum problem.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you can imagine, like, an infinity of different actions in between those things where, he's wearing a really realistic fox costume and then a slightly less realistic one. And then, eventually it's just him with, like, a high-vis vest and a big I'm a human sign above him, you know?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Judge. I just accidentally thought that this like high vis vest with an I am human thing. Oh, it just looked like a fox. Bad eyesight.
Yeah, whoops, my bad. And he's like, yeah, it is your bad. Guilty.
Okay. Um. Yeah, I think that's everything from last time clarified. Oh, I'm reading. I can quickly take a toilet break. I've been drinking a lot today.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be right back. See you
I'll
in a bit.
do the super chats whilst you're away. Let's see here. I got a stream of super chats from Philosophos, I believe. Let's see here. Philosophos won for super chat after the other was. Thank you very much, man. It's incredible. What would be the best way to fan funding? I'll do it this way. I can pop this out. God, that's not right. Fan funding. There we go. Okay, so let everyone spam 100 in the chat. So Philosophus 1 for $5. Thank you very much. People make the argument that libertarian, and then I believe these are connected actually, so it's $10 overall for this one. People make the argument that libertarianism is using a political means towards anti-political ends, and that this tension is bad. I think that politics is the activities of government. Thus, if you don't aggress at all, it's not possible to use political means. Yeah, I mean, I assume you're like referring to like the agorists. I think they're very weak on like, you're voting, you're using political means towards non-political ends. It's like, I mean, come on, like, I'm a slave being driven by a slave driver. Am I not allowed to ask for the softer whip for tomorrow? Does that mean that I'm consenting to that softer whip? I don't think it is. Does that mean I'm supporting the softer whip? I don't think it is. I think that's kind of ludicrous. So yeah, libertarianism just means, I've gone over it completely in my video on Dave Smith, Anatomy of the Libertarian. Springtime of Nations has an excellent series, one of the best series on all of libertarian YouTube. It'll be a fucking, that's definitely getting like framed in gold in the eventual halls of Ancapistan. That series will get. framed, because it's a brilliant series. Honestly, you guys should watch it. Yeah, it does include some engagement on like the what you could call the political level, but ultimately what you're doing is trying to destroy the state. Right? Why is voting for the guy who is going to destroy some aspect of the state, and that could actually work, right, in some local area? Why is that a bad thing? I've never understood that with Agorist. I think it's a goofy ideology, guys. Um, Philosophical, and then for another $2 and another $2 after that. Um, what do you think of this? And is my rebuttal good? Politics is the activities of government. Therefore, if you don't aggress at all, it's not possible to use political means. Yeah, I mean, it kind of calls into question like what does political means? Like, what does that concept actually refer to? I don't know what it actually refers to. Like, literally refers to. It's just some like buzzword I hear agorists use. So that's perfectly fine rebuttal. Um, and then finally, can you explain the let exclusion stand principle? So this is a principle from Anthony de who's one of these old-time jurists, one of the big ones, great guy. So it's basically, Kinsella explains it in thoughts on the homesteading principle and why ownership itself implies that only libertarian style ownership is justifiable. It's a huge long title of an article. You'll find it by just mashing those words into your keyboard properly. But it basically means that on Deus's view, a property right is the right to exclude someone from some area. And now obviously this has different implications for movable as against immovable things, but we'll just stick for immovable things right now. We'll just stick with like land. So that's how Deus views a property right. It's you are excluding someone from something which was not previously being excluded from. You've erected some objective economic barrier around some field or whatever, which didn't exist before, right? And his idea with homesteading is that whenever somebody does this exclusion, where nobody was excluding from before, you should let that exclusion stand. You should just leave it be. That is now property. That's basically Deus's let exclusion stand principle. I agree with it entirely. If you look in my course on the episode, on the lesson, however you want to call it, on homesteading and property rights. And then just before we get back in with Acorn, I believe is back now, we have Hugh Chat Harold for $10. Thank you very much. In privatization, RNH, I'm not familiar with that. Block said he's a pessimist on the outlook for liberty. I think humans are hardwired, based on socio-biological considerations, to be anti-freedom. What are your thoughts? I think that's a load of hogwash, honestly. Yeah, I don't think a human can be hardwired to believe in any belief over the other belief, because this just goes back to the age-old problems with innate ideas. Well, if you can have an innate idea for something, how could you ever know that that thing is true? Like, if this is an innate idea, that the dogmatic rationalists feverishly contended with this, and they never came to a satisfactory conclusion. They just kept hiding their innate ideas behind ever broader abstractions to hope people wouldn't notice, and people eventually did notice. And that's the whole point behind Kant's privatization of roads and highways. Sorry, that was the whole point behind Kant's Copernican revolution. He was trying to solve this problem of, well, how do you have this? He was willing to be like the great rationalists, but he didn't want to, have an innate idea in there. So it wasn't innate ideas, it wasn't innate content, but innate form of perception. That was the whole idea behind Kant. And oh boy, that was a hell of a road, wasn't it? But yeah, sorry, Acorn.
Yeah, I came back when you said talk about the libertarianism series, and yeah, that was I watched that. It's an amazing series. Everyone should go and watch it.
Better than
Um,
pluribus?
hmm?
Better than pluribus?
um, I feel like I'm obligated to say yes because of the effect it's had on the libertarian movement.
Okay,
Yeah,
actually,
speaking of
Nikola Pavkovich, before we continue, is saying he'll steal man
mhm.
blocks possession. It's not an innate idea, but a psychological sensation or drive. We don't have an innate idea of threat. We still have instinctual fears and fearful feelings as children. Well, I mean, I don't think you can really apply instinct to the level of such an abstraction as anti-freedom. Like that is so far up the hierarchy of abstraction. It's not like you see a fucking scary ass snake about to bite you in the face, and you're like, ah! Like that's not, I don't think it's anywhere close to being the same level. Like I could accept that on the perceptual level, you could see a scary monster and you know your fucking heart rate starts going up and you start getting adrenaline pumped into your blood. But I don't think you could have a percept of freedom and be terrified of that. Like, how on earth would that ever evolve in the first place? Like, oh my god, this guy's frolicking the fields. I'm so terrified. Like, I would like it's such a broad abstraction. I don't see how that could ever happen. I don't think it makes sense for that to happen at all.
I mean, I think that when it comes to fears and feelings, these are basically downstream of your previous philosophy.
Yeah.
And because most people have like a collectivist philosophy, that's why like they have an instinct or like fears against freedom. So it's ultimately the philosophic fear of history. Like if you have a correct philosophy in place, then people will stop being fearful of freedom.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, okay. I think we just finished. Okay, we finished recapping the previous debates. There was like the clarification questions. Okay, so I guess I'll just continue with some of the other points we had. How long has this stream been on for?
56 minutes. Oh,
Okay.
actually, that's according to Restream, which is often very wrong. I'll have to check on YouTube. Doesn't say. I don't know. Somewhere in that range. Actually, no. OBS will tell me. Just over an hour.
Okay. How long do you think you can keep going for, Zulu?
I could probably comfortably go for another hour, but then I probably want to wind down because I don't want to go too late.
Okay, sure. Um, I've got like I just transcripted most of so basically whenever I have a question on anarchism that I don't really know how to answer, or maybe a counter argument that I don't really know how to address, I have like this notes in my on my iPhone that I just noted down in. And I transferred most of that onto a TXT document. But I was gonna organize the whole thing, like spend most of today organizing it. But I had a really busy morning, and so I didn't have as much time as I wanted to properly organize the whole thing. So um, I so basically like I need
Might I
to
suggest, just as an aside, you should try out Obsidian to organize it. If you have the time to set aside one day, turn it on to an Obsidian vault on your computer, and then you know you can keep adding to that atomically, and you can have your own wiki. Very good.
okay. Yeah, I
That's what I
definitely
use
need
for
to
my
learn that.
brain site.
Hmm. I know that you used Doom Emacs to like take your notes, right?
Oh, I use that for like you know taking notes in debates and like writing scripts and stuff. But
Hmm.
for my brain wiki, I use Obsidian. I mainly chose it to be honest. Like Oracle Rome would do the exact same thing, and it would be on Emacs. But I used that because it all works with Markdown, so I know I could easily publish that on the internet.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I'll definitely need to spend some time learning that in the future. Yeah, right now I've just got a giant scroll of text on a TXT document.
Yeah.
uh, okay, so I guess next thing on the list is I have tangents on threats on. So okay, so I've got the question of is the threat of a crime analyzed identically to the actual committing of said crime in legal analysis? Like in jurisprudence, can you treat a person threatening to murder someone as the same as someone swinging his blade at you?
So I think the restitution for a threat may well be different. Or actually, would it? I'm not sure that it would be different.
No, because if
Yeah, it's been a
if
while
there's
since
this
I've looked
threat
over
and
the
it hasn't
threat stuff.
been committed yet, there's like no actual damage to the property, right?
Well,
So there can't be any restitution.
Yes. So in that sense, any damage incurred from the actual doing of the crime, like I'm gonna break into your fucking house, man. Like it's like, okay, well, buy me a new door now. It's like, well, but your door wasn't actually broken in though.
I think you mean
Perhaps in
retribution,
that
right?
level. Yeah. So for like for the most part, a threat is basically taken as this is effectively the same as the crime as far as the illegality is concerned. And this is why Block says you're allowed to threaten things you're allowed to do, but not things you're not allowed to do. So I'm allowed to threaten to stop being your friend, but not allowed to threaten that I'm gonna, stab you in the chest, right? So are you like trying to get into like why is the threat like also a crime?
Basically, just for this part, just assume that whenever I say threat, I mean a threat to do something that is a crime.
Yeah.
I guess to give an example, let's say that someone walks up to you and say, "Hey Zulu, I hate you. You are such a you're an ANCAP. I hate ANCAPs, and I will chop off your arm." Is it just for you to let's say that Zulu? He's just such a Chad. He's really good with weapons. He can just take a machete and then just cut off that guy's arm right there and now. Like, is that justifiable for you to do that?
Yes.
Okay, but let's say that you do chop off his arm, and then he, runs away
And in
crying.
fact, I'll add on to that. It'd be justifiable for me to shoot him in the head.
All right, so in that case, it will be self-defense.
Yeah. And this is assuming like this is a threat, which is like clear that this person can actually do. Like he's not like, some old man sitting in a wheelchair. He's like paralyzed from the neck down, saying, "I'm gonna kill you, man. I'm gonna kill you," because like clearly he's just talking. It's like, okay, buddy. Whereas if he's like some person of a certain demographic who's like running at me with a machete and he's saying, "I'm gonna cut your arm off," it's like, yeah, this guy's gonna cut my arm off. Like he's clearly communicating he's gonna cut my arm off. I'm allowed to defend myself against that.
So what if, let's say that someone somewhere in the US, there's a communist, and that communist goes into your DM, and says, "Okay, Zulu, I hate you. I will cut your arm off." And ignoring the practicality of self-defense, well, let's say if it is justified for you to do self-defense, well, if you actually do it, the state will go down on you. So ignoring the practicality of things, just focusing on the jurisprudence of are you allowed to do self-defense? Are you?
So I mean, if it's a person just coming into my DMs and giving me a death threat, I mean, like for the most part on the internet, that's just talk. Like, so I would say that's probably not going to be actually a threat in the legal sense. Like they're basically just saying they're basically just trying to get a rise out of you. It's like in school. It's like I'm gonna fuck your mother. It's like, well, you're not actually, are you? Because you're 13.
I mean, is this another example of a continuum problem then? Like determining what counts as a threat?
Yeah, because on one end of the continuum is a guy with a desert eagle pressed to my forehead, saying, "I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna fucking do it," versus, someone like, if you say that to me, I'm gonna blow up your whole family and I'm gonna blow up the whole world because I'm God. It's like a little snot nosed kid or something. It's like, no, you're not gonna do that, are you?
okay, how about let's say that this person is or has already like killed other people, or like let's say that he hasn't killed other people yet, but he's already went through on every single of his threats before. Previously, he threatened someone to like chop off their arm, and they did that, and maybe another time they threatened to like I don't know, do something else, and they like followed through with their previous threat. And so there is enough evidence that they will likely go through with that threat as
Hmm.
well.
There's like
So in that
precedence
case,
that
if
this person has like traveled around the globe, like, you know, killing people
mm,
and stuff.
yeah, so in that case, after they make the threat to you, um, like let's say that they don't do anything for just 10 days. They're saying, okay, I will kill you in 10 days, exactly 10 days time, and they say true to their word, and they don't do anything for like the first 10 days. Are you allowed to just go find if you can find them? Are you allowed to just go to them and kill them first in self-defense
Yeah,
during any of that time?
yeah.
Okay.
It's like, have you seen the movie Cape Fear?
No, I have not.
So, have you seen the Simpsons episode parodying Cape Fear?
No, I haven't either.
Okay. Um, well, it's basically this guy he like got off of like a no, he didn't get off. He was like he was convicted for this like brutal rape of a woman where he like almost beat her to death. Um, and like it follows like the lawyer's family when he gets released from jail like many years later. Um, and like he's basically looked into his case and he found out that the lawyer like buried some evidence which would exonerate him because she was dressed promiscuously, and that would have gotten him off the case, because she was promiscuous. And the lawyer buried that because he's like, this guy's fucking brutal. He needs to go away. And the guy is like doing all this like menacing activity where he's like technically just barely skirting around the law, so the police can't do anything about him. Like he'll like sit on like the outside of their fence. It's like, well, technically that's the border to your property, so he's not trespassing just yet. And he like poisoned their dog, and they couldn't prove it. And he's like, as he would like go and talk to them, and then he'd walk away and he'd mutter like, "You're gonna learn about loss." And he's like, "What was that?" It's the, you know, like, this guy's clearly threatening to kill, and you know, he does end up trying to kill them. Um, at very much earlier points in that movie, in Ancapistan, it would have been justified to like, you know, tear this guy away from society effectively. Like, no, you're not in society anymore. We're pushing you into the outskirts. Go be with the trees and the wild beasts where you belong. And if he resists,
Okay.
then yeah, shoot him in the head. And he does actually. He also murders the guy's like housekeeper at some point. By the way, that's another movie you should watch if you're looking for recommendations.
Okay,
Cape
wait.
Fear.
Can you remind me of the name again? Cape. What
Cape
is it again?
Fear.
Cape Fear. Yep, got that noted down. Cape Fear. Okay. Um. Okay, so back to the threat examples. Um. So there's the gentleness principle is involved when like excluding people from like your property, right? So I'm just wondering. Let's say that instead of threatening to cut off your arm, they're threatening to tickle you. You're no longer allowed to just um put a bullet through their head, right?
Um. So it depends, right? 'Cause
Oh, right.
it gentleness isn't the same thing as proportionality. Like this
Yeah,
is
right.
another point where people get confused on. They try and apply proportionality to defense. Defense doesn't care about proportionality at all. Like if like the only way I could possibly prevent you, maybe you're like really really strong, and like I could like hit you, I could punch you in the face, and none of it would do anything to stop you from tickling me, unless I like actually shot you, and then you'd stop. Well, then I'd actually be allowed to shoot you. But it's got to be
Mhm.
like, you know, doing the
Yeah.
least amount of damage to you, which would actually effectively stop the aggression, and that might end up killing you, even if it's just a
Mhm.
shoplifting or just tickling me or whatever. Like it might end up being that severe, because some people are just really like roided up and they're on all these crazy drugs and stuff, you know.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I understand that point about how gentleness isn't about proportionality. It's about what's needed to exclude someone from your property. So what I should be asking is, okay, so it's what's required to get them to stop, right? But in the case of a threat, they haven't started yet. So how do you know what's required to stop them? Or like, is every threat because well, the only way you can really know that they can't follow through with it is, well, if you kill them, then they can't follow through with it. So does that mean that, like, if anyone just like seriously threatens to tickle you, like
Well, so
it means that you have to kill them?
it would be the same as with when they're actually doing it. Like, what is the actual, you know, existential circumstances of this person? Like, is this Superman who is threatening, hey, next week, Liquid Zulu, I'm going to pluck a hair from your head. You know, Superman tells me that. And he flies off. It's like, well, yeah, then I'd be allowed to, get a kryptonite warhead or whatever and launch it at him because I want to defend my property. Because there would be no other way for me to stop him.
Let's just say it's just an average Joe saying that to you. What are you allowed to do to the average Joe? Are you allowed to just nuke the average Joe? Let's see if you have that massive integrator, just completely remove them from existence.
So
Are you allowed to use that?
that would almost certainly not be what is required. If you, like, hypothetically stipulate, no, the only way that you could ever stop this from happening is by nuking him, then yeah, I suppose so. That, like, that's not going to happen.
I mean, oh, okay. So, but in the previous example, what you said about like killing him was before. So it's a threat, right? So he hadn't started actually doing the thing he was threatening yet. Are you allowed to initiate self-defense before they start the actual threat, going through with the threat?
Well, yeah, because they've already started doing the crime against you. Because the crime is also the threat's part of that as well. It's just like if I'm in an alley and I see someone reaching for their pistol and pulling up towards me. They've already started that crime against me, so I'm allowed to pull up my pistol in response and shoot them.
Okay, so to give this like a more complicated idea of the physicality of the person who's going up against you, let's say that there's a Zulu clone, someone with exactly your dimensions of power, and
Jacked
that
the bone.
yeah, that person threatens to kill you. Like, what would the actual? So you're saying that you're definitely not allowed to. Obviously, you're not allowed to just blast them in the head. But let, what's required to stop them from, let's say, tickling you, or do the clone from tickling you?
Well, to stop a Zulu clone from tickling you, it probably wouldn't take, that much force. Like if you just, if you bashed me with like a baseball bat or something, I'd probably, go, oh, if you punch me in the face, because like again, but I can't take into like even the like mental constitution of me. It would have to be like me, but like a fucked up evil version who really wants to tickle you. I mean, probably if somebody was punching me in the face, I would. That would probably be sufficient to, thwart a Zulu clone. I don't know about you guys, but I can't take many punches to the face. Eventually, I'm going to go down.
Wait, so are you allowed to just punch him in the face before he actually starts punching you? Let's say that. Okay, what about if Zulu?
So you would start basically like if you're doing this thing, it's like I'm gonna start tickling you, bro. Like you start with the lesser thing and then you work your way up. Like you maybe like push them back a little. No, don't do that. You start with like no, don't do that. They keep walking up to you. Then you like push them back a little bit. No, don't do that. They keep walking up to you with their tickling hands. Eventually, you might end up punching them, and they just keep walking up to you with their tickling hands. You might have like a sword on you, and you like slash their hands off, and then they take out their tickling toes or whatever. Eventually, you work your way up. Like I think that's actually the way that like the police do it. Funnily enough, like they have like a certain like system where they go like 2 levels of force above the opponent or whatever it is. I can't remember it. But yeah, no, the way it would work, because you don't want to and that's more of a wager thing, because you don't want to go over and above. So you work your way up. And if you don't work your way up, you haven't actually discovered what that level is. But if we're stipulating, like, you know for certain what the level is already through magical means, then yeah, you can just go straight to that level. But you start working your way up based on where they're coming at you from. If they're a masked man running at you with a machete, the level's already pretty goddamn high, and you can just start shooting at them to stop them from coming at you. But if they're just like, I'm going to start tickling you, then the level is very, very low. You just start with a verbal, no, don't do that. Stop coming closer to me. And then you start pushing them. And then you maybe punch them. And then, you work it up from there.
Okay, so I understand at that point where you slowly work it up, but that like as they're doing action. Let's say that the Lulu clone says, Lulu, I am going to punch you in the face in exactly 10 days' time. And then you say, no, don't do it. And he said, no, I will. Mark my words, I will. And just I allow you to escalate from there. If all they say that they're gonna punch you in 10 days' time, but they haven't done anything yet. And are they technically escalating by saying, well, just mark my words, I definitely will. Trust me, bro.
I mean, we are verging. I think we're treading outside of the realm of the jurist here. I think all the jurist can really say on this matter is, that just the principle of you're not allowed to go above and beyond what is required to stop the aggression. Now, what is literally required to stop an aggression? That's very case by case. It's unclear, based on the hypothetical, what would be required to stop this guy. I could list off a million things which would stop him, but like, what would be required? What would be like actually necessary to stop him? I couldn't tell you.
Okay, I just realized that since we're talking about self-defense now, it was originally going to be something that we talk about later, but since we're here, I want to ask like for clarification on the gentleness principle, like what is the standard of gentleness? How can you like rank different actions as being less gentle or more gentle?
So it's based on what actually stops the aggression. So the example I use in the course is some guy is like trespassing on your property, and you want him gone.
Mm-hmm.
And escorting him out is perfectly fine. That actually works to escort him out. And then you start also, whilst you're escorting him out, you're stabbing him in the arm with the needle. Now, stabbing him in the arm with a needle, that's not required to exclude him from your property at all. You could just not do that thing at all. And then you can just start applying this to other cases, right? If this guy, shooting him in the head, that would stop the trespass. But it also does a whole bunch of extra things which weren't required to stop the trespass. Now, how you literally rank these actions, I don't think there is a ranking. I don't think there's an ordinal ranking because it depends so much on the individual circumstances. Again, I don't want to be a rationalist here. I'm not just rationalizing out everything from the armchair. All I can say is that property rights, the gentleness principle says that you're allowed to do whatever is necessary to exclude from your property, but not anything that you want above that.
Okay, so basically what is gentleness? I think that's a question for the jurist, right? But if this the gentlest means, that will be a question for the judge. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good way.
Okay, so I want to continue asking about what is gentleness. So the principle that you were getting at there is that the gentlest thing is basically one that all that's necessary. Basically, less gentle means you're doing additional things on top of what's actually required. But okay, so for example, let's say someone's on your lawn and you tell them to shout for them to get off and they won't. So let's say just for example, there are at least two options available to you right now. One of the options is you can shove them off, and this will accomplish the task. They're just shuffling them off, and they won't come back again if you do that. Another way of excluding them is you've got a gun and you can shoot them in the head. So you're saying that when you shoot them in the head, that's excluding them from your property, but also doing a bunch of other stuff. But when you shove them off, that's not doing other stuff. But I mean, if you shoot them in, let's say that it's not a gun. It's just a really big what's it called, mechanical punching thing, and it just punches them right off instead. Okay, so let's use that example as the second option. So you can either shove them off using your hand gently, or you can use a big punching thing that like just sends them really flying. They'll probably like die of full damage after that. So what about the so if you use a massive punching thing, that means that you don't actually have to shove them, right? So you can argue that shoving them isn't actually necessary because instead you can just not shove them and use a massive punching.
Yeah, so perhaps necessary isn't the correct word there. But basically, gentleness is stating that you're allowed to do, you are allowed to exclude people from your property, but you're not allowed to go above and beyond, right? Now, what specifically above and beyond means, maybe there's more jurisprudence to be done there, because I don't think I have a satisfactory answer here. But I think I've proven as far as that in my course.
Okay. If that's the case, we can move on then. So going back to the original thing, which is about sorry, not indirect aggression, it was threats, right? So back to threats. My other question on threats was conditional threats. So are conditional threats still threats? Let's take the first example. If someone says, "I will murder you on the condition that you don't do a funny dance right now," is that an aggression?
Yeah.
Okay. What if instead someone says, "I will murder you if P is not P"? Does that still count as a threat?
Well, yeah, it's still a threat because there's still the "I will murder you" part. That's all that's required for it to be a threat. The latter part is they're just a maniac. It's like, which is a particularly worrying type of threat.
You just cut off.
Oh, sorry, I'm saying the P is not P part. Like anything after the "I will murder you unless," like nothing after that actually matters for evaluating whether it's a threat. So the "I will murder you if P is not P," that part only just means that they're like you're dealing with some sort of maniac. You know, he's putting like, if the blue sky is not blue, I'm gonna fucking kill you. It's like, okay, I'm dealing with a crazy person here. Like I'm afraid for my life right now. Like I have no way of dealing with this person rationally anymore.
Okay, so I meant okay. I was originally meant to say that like it was "I will murder you on the condition that P is not P," and if someone says that to you like just calmly, and they are a rational person, and they don't believe that P is not P, in that case, will it still be a threat because they're basically saying "I won't murder you"?
I mean, if you're taking it to that level, it's effectively like what you've done to me, like where you're just posing like a hypothetical. So then it's just not even in the same category of things anymore.
I mean, it's like okay. Okay, how about
because you literally did say to me, I could clip it. I'll clip this out of context and post it right onto Twitter. You literally did say, "I will murder you if P is not P," but like when it becomes like a rational person who's literally saying these things, well, that's the level it becomes. It becomes immediately it's just a hypothetical because where you're just teasing out a philosophical principle. Like there's no other context where that would come up.
So this is basically how like the actual string of words is different from the actual proposition being made. And basically, if someone says I will murder you if like if the crazy lunatic says I will murder you if P is not P, and they're not actually meaning that they won't murder you because they're crazy and they don't believe that P is not they don't they basically believe in contradiction and stuff. But like if someone is like actually meaning like they say it and they actually mean the concept.
Yeah, because if they actually understand the concepts, like they would understand, well, that also means I will not murder you. Like they're just teasing out some philosophical principle. Like so,
yeah,
it's just a totally like different level of engagement. And even in my like hypothetical, like I was imagining like some crazed guy with like a gun to my head, like, and that's all got like the body language in there and everything. Like it just becomes a totally different thing.
Yeah, okay, I understand that point now. So for my next example, well, I'll just say that like this person means exactly what they're explicitly saying. So the third example is someone saying, "I will murder you if your state leader nukes." Oh, sorry, I will murder you under the condition that your state leader nukes my country. Would that be an aggression?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if someone says, okay, this is sort of like example 3.5 that I noted down. Does it change if it's instead, I will murder anyone whose state leader nukes my country?
Yeah, that's still aggression.
Okay.
Which is basically mutually assured destruction, right? If you're a state leader,
that's what I was basing the thing on. Okay, so I am working up to something here, and it's a bullet that we might not want to bite. So the fourth question is, if someone says, "I will murder you," if someone threatens to murder my son if I don't follow through with it, would also be an aggression, right?
Okay, hold on. I've got to spend a second parsing that out because it's like reciprocal.
Sure.
So, hold on. Let me restate that.
So, if someone said to you, "I will murder you under the condition that someone threatens to murder my son if I don't murder you," and they actually mean what they said.
Okay, I will murder you under the condition that someone threatens to murder my son if I don't murder you. Yeah, that's aggression.
Okay, so the thing I'm working up to is that I'm pretty sure Dave has said something along that line. Like he said that okay, if someone's going to like keep my family hostage or something like that, I don't care. Like I will do anything for my son. So either we argue that Dave doesn't actually mean what he says, like he's just saying the words, but he doesn't actually mean it, or does it follow that anyone it's justified for anyone to kill Dave Smith in self-defense? And I want to note here, I'm not saying that anyone should kill Dave. I'm just making the argument that in this case, it's not an aggression to kill Dave.
So I'll leave it to the logicians in the audience to parse out what the answer here would be. And I will take it no further than that because I am not allowed to under YouTube terms of service.
Okay. Non-legal question, Dulu, but just did I overstep any lines here? Just as feedback.
I mean, it was fine to ask because it's an interesting route to go down, but we're not going to continue down that line of discussion.
Okay, fine. I did tease in the second Remnant podcast. I said that I'm gonna be perhaps biting bullets that we don't want to be biting.
It's not necessarily that people wouldn't want to bite the bullets. I cannot allow discussion of that.
Sure. I mean,
go any further.
Okay, later on, I'll be trying to justify letter bombs. Is that all right? If I say it's fine to send letter bombs to people.
I would avoid any discussion of you trying to justify sending letter bombs to people. We can discuss this afterwards if you want. But I don't think that'll fly.
What I basically want to argue is that indirect aggression, I don't think it's actually aggression.
Okay.
And that basically, so
So if you just talk about it on like the purely abstract level, we can continue with the discussion of indirect aggression, because I do think indirect aggression is aggression. So we could go down that route, or like the mob boss sending off his goons to kill someone or whatever. Like we can go down that route if you want, but we'll keep it to the abstract level.
Wait, so am I also not allowed to use the like hypothetical of a mob boss? Like
You could use the hypothetical of a mob boss saying to his
what if
goon, hey, go off that guy, go off Johnny 2-time or whatever, and discussing whether the mob boss committed that crime, because we're framing specifically, because we're framing that as a crime being done against Johnny 2-time, whereas I don't think that's where you're going with the previous line of inquiry.
I mean, because as I said before, I want to try to argue that that indirect aggression isn't aggression. So I want to argue that
So you'd be saying that the mob boss didn't do that crime, but perhaps the hitman did do that crime.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Sure. So that's fine. We can talk about the mob boss's culpability there. That's fine.
Okay, so I don't actually know where my whole notes on indirect aggression is, but okay, found it. Before I actually read the thing, so I just okay, so when it comes to indirect aggression, this is why I previously wanted to do a part on free will, right? So I think that okay, stop me if I'm not allowed to say this, but there's our thought experiment on okay, well, I can't remember whose thought experiment this is. One of them is the black box tank, right? Like an
I think it
evil
was
midget.
Kinsella.
Okay, so yeah, that one was Kinsella. So Kinsella said that an evil midget in a tank is actually reading your controls on the you're controlling the tank, but you're not actually directly controlling the tank.
Yeah, hold on. I'll just set up this like scenario for the listener who might have not seen this. Is basically you have like this remote control tank where you're putting in instructions, and the tank carries out those instructions, and you're like using it to shoot people. And then, unbeknownst to you, a midget crawls out of the tank at the end, and he was just seeing your instructions on the screen, and he was carrying them out because he agreed with you or whatever.
Okay. So yeah, that's one of the examples. The other example is basically it was like, okay, well, if you were to hypothetically say that all guns in the US are actually sentient and they can actually choose to just not go forth with the kill if you press the trigger. So, and hypothetically, like all the gun jamming, when a gun jams, is actually just the gun choosing not to fire. Like, would that basically absolve all of the people who are like guilty of gun murder in the US? Quick question: am I allowed to say that I think that it's not an aggression? Like,
yeah,
I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to like just understand like what the boundaries of what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. Because in that case, I'm basically saying it's fine to murder people with guns, isn't it?
Well, because you would say it's not murder, right? So the limit you were running into before specifically was that you were I'll DM it to you. It's not on the stream.
I just want to clarify that I'm never saying what you should do. Okay, I'm just saying it's not an aggression to.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's not an aggression to suicide.
I'm just typing something out to you. I cannot say this on stream.
Sure. Sorry, Dylan, while you do that, can I just take another quick toilet break? Sorry, I've had a lot to drink.
Yeah, so we gotta be real careful in this way. I don't think it's ever gone to this point before. Fun. We're getting into the real limits here. I love it. That's what the Liquid Zulu show is all about, guys. Wanna you wanna get into the nitty gritties, the the very edges of what YouTube can allow? Stick around. But anyway, Philosophos one for $5 asked, would the principle of let exclusion stand entail that one who is encircled would be allowed to leave and return, even if it meant crossing over the encircling property? No, because they're excluding people, and that exclusion should stand. So that is their property. They're trying to exclude you. The let exclusion stand principle on its own doesn't say about anything about whether allowed to ingress. That comes later. That's just, based on like defense theory and things like that. But he's saying by let exclusion stand, he's saying that it would be a crime to overcome that exclusion, basically, because you're not letting that exclusion stand, you're overcoming it. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Okay, I just came back, but I heard the last part of it. Were you guys talking about the what's it called, cashier principle?
No. We were talking about DSA's
Oh.
let exclusion stand principle.
Okay, I didn't quite catch the front of that, but I guess it's not important.
No, I was responding to a super chat. He was
cool.
following up from
Do you have
earlier.
any more to get to?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So back to indirect aggression. So my argument is that in indirect aggression, the person is just, for example, the mob boss telling his goons to go and murder someone. The mob boss is just saying words, and the goons have free will, so the goons can choose not to listen to the mob boss. So, but basically, it doesn't necessarily the mob boss saying what he says doesn't necessarily cause the goons to do what they're doing. And so the goons are obviously guilty for the murder, but I think that only the goons are guilty for the murder because it's. I guess
Well, the question is, can you rely on that someone else will do something when you say certain words to them? And quite often you can. And if you can rely on someone doing something by you saying words to them, then you can use them as a means. I mean, this is the basis of trade. I can rely that when I give money to a cashier at like a corner shop, that they will give me the product and I can walk out with it and they won't like tackle me or something. Right? I can rely on their words there. I can rely on my words actually inducing action in them. So I'm using them as a mean. If I'm going to like buy cigarettes at a spa or whatever, I can be reasonably sure that when I say to the cashier, "Hey, I want Pall Mall Shift Blue. I want Pall Mall," that they'll walk off to the cigarette counter and pick me up some Pall Mall cigarettes. I can be reasonably sure of that. I am using them as a means to pick up those cigarettes for me. Obviously, because I'm not actually allowed to pick them up myself, because it's behind a counter. The same is true of the mob boss. The mob boss can be reasonably sure that when he says, "Hey, you, go on, Jimmy the Snitch, go off Tommy Two Time." Jimmy the Snitch would be a bad example because nobody's going to trust him. Hey, Tommy the Screw, go and put your screws in this guy. Kill him. He can be reasonably certain that this thing is going to happen. This hit is going to happen because of him requesting it of his goons. Right? He can be reasonably sure of that. And that's why he's using them as a means towards that end, because I do believe you can use other people as a means towards some end.
Okay, so what if, okay, does that mean that if you don't actually explicitly say to someone to kill someone, but if you just influence them in a way to manipulate them,
even if you're just trying to manipulate them, you're being real subtle about it. Like, it's the same thing.
Okay, so if you manipulate someone into like taking action to murder someone, then you're also guilty of that murder. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that then follow that stochastic terrorism is then also counts as actual crime. So
Remind me what stochastic terrorism is.
I can't remember the exact definition, but basically it's when you say a bunch of stuff to get people riled up so that they go and do I guess okay. I guess some people can argue that what I said on Dave Smith counts as stochastic terrorism. So I just want to clarify. I don't support killing Dave Smith. In fact, you shouldn't kill Dave Smith because even if it is technically not an aggression, he's like this is just like on a threat level, okay, and it's on a technicality. There are people
I'm gonna cut you off right there. We're just gonna cap it off with this channel does not support. I do not support. Acorn does not support anybody engaging in any sort of murderous activity or aggressive activity against Dave Smith, and we're gonna cap it off there.
Okay, so back to stochastic terrorism. It's basically when you like say something that will get people riled up, and then
I need to be your
they'll
goddamn
commit
lawyer
crime.
here.
Does that count?
Yeah, based on like, you know, if you're saying things to rile like up a crowd, like we're gonna go storm that church, and because they've been spouting blasphemings, and we're gonna storm it and we're gonna kill them all, you know, and you're trying to rile up the crowd, and then you just like slink off or whatever. Yeah, that would be aggression.
Okay, so let's say that you know a few people are like Nazis, and they really hate Jews and they want to murder Jews, and like and you just walk past them on the street, and then you just pretend to like speak into your phone, complaining to someone online, and you're just speaking like you're pretending to send a voice message to someone, say, I just got out of that house there. There's just a bunch of like nasty Jews. They ignore me so much.
Yeah, that would be aggression.
So that would okay.
Because you're trying to get the Nazis to, you know, like firebomb this place or whatever, do something bad to these Jews, or even if they're not Jews, like you're trying to get the Nazis to do something bad to them.
Okay. So if this is a crime, so I think that in this case there can also be like actus reus without mens rea, right? Let's say that you weren't intentionally like trying to get wait, okay, how about this in this case? The example is you are actually talking to someone on the phone, you're sending a voice message to them. Oh, I just got out of that house with Nazi Jews. Like you're a really big racist. You hate Jews, but you don't actually want Jews dead or anything like that. You're just a big racist. And you walk past some Nazis, and they happen to hear you.
I think this is a very interesting case you brought up here, because I think that actually removes the actus reus. Because specifically, the reason why it was aggression in the one case, where it was an indirect aggression, was because you were using the Nazis as a means to enact something. But you're not using them as a means here. It might as well be you were like caught on camera saying these things, and you know, like the video went viral, and then some Nazis saw it, right? Like you're not actually using anybody as a means there, so you're not actually doing the action at all.
Okay, so in this case, your intentions. Okay, well, intentions are part of the action. But in this case, your intentions actually change.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting like edge case here.
Is this the only case when this happens? Are there any other cases in jurisprudence?
I would have to think about it. I can't think of any off the dome. Like this just kind of came up when you were talking about that. I was like, actually, no, it wouldn't apply anymore.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head right now, but
anyway,
it's certainly something I want to think about later. If this, for some reason, like this just happens to be the one case where intentions change in actus reus.
Because it would kind of make sense, because this is a case where it's all about you trying to like orchestrate something with other people. So it would make sense that it would dissolve under the case where the orchestration no longer is there. But I will say we're getting up to the hour mark, so let's start winding down now.
Okay. I want to just get through one last thing then that I want to talk about, which and then we can like start like going off the legal questions and onto some of the other stuff like the ending. So it's proportionality. So you know how earlier I said that from negative right, I basically got most of ANCAP theory myself. Um, the one major example I got was I was that building a nuke in your backyard, if you're not going to use it on any one, like it's not actually an aggression. If you're just like making a nuke because you're interested in the engineering or something like
Assuming
that.
you're not like irradiating your neighbors or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're just safely building a nuke because you're interested in engineering and you find nukes really cool, that's actually not like it doesn't violate anyone's negative
Yeah.
right. So you therefore can't violate their negative right by like taking their nuke away. So like, that basically goes like it's basically Second Amendment to the extreme. I was like, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
and
you're
the
allowed
example
to
I used to
build a
use
nuke.
was, because it wasn't, a super popular opinion back in the day when I was just getting into it, at least in the crowds I was hanging out in. But it was like the example I would use is like, well, what if you're just keeping a nuke as like a paperweight? It's possible
I remember you saying that at some
if
point.
you keep a nuke as a paperweight, that's possible, right? Yeah, like then yeah, it wouldn't be aggression. It's only aggression in mutually assured destruction, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I just came to the conclusion by myself. But something that I came to, I basically like made up a stop for myself, but it's slightly different from your version. So I
To be
basically still
clear,
try because
Kinsella came up with Estoppel, but I do have a slightly different version of Estoppel for listeners, where Kinsella has this notion of you can do a lesser retribution. I don't know what it means to have a lesser retribution. I think there's only the one retribution, and you've got to negotiate. Okay, I'll trade you this right of retribution for a lesser one, and then it can just be subjectively agreed upon. But yeah, go on.
yeah, I guess I'll be trying to push you on your like proportionality arguments as well, because I don't really understand what it means for a punishment to be proportional. Like basically because I was actually trying to justify statism at the time. Like as I said, like SFO seriously poisoned the veil with anarchism, so I'm pretty impressed that like I still got there. But I basically just tried pushing negative rights to their conclusion. And I was like thinking, okay, well, how do I justify the police? Like, are we actually just gonna let criminals just run free everywhere? Like, it's just gonna be like actual chaos. And then the way I tried to justify the police was that if you violate someone else's negative rights, then you are basically consenting to have your negative rights removed as well. And so basically, violating someone's rights gets rid of your rights, and therefore, the police is allowed to hold you to prison because you don't have the right to not get kidnapped anymore. And what followed from that conclusion was that it would be fine to punish shoplifting with execution because, well,
Mm-hmm.
you shoplifting is a crime and you violate a crime, so you lose your, negative rights, and like anyone can just come and do whatever they want to you, including and up to murdering you, sorry, killing you in this case. And so I guess this is similar to your retribution in that the estoppel. Your argument is that if you commit, for example, theft of £5, then you are stopped from arguing against someone else taking £5 from you. But I guess my question is, why apply at the level of, well, the crime is um, stealing £5? Why not just say at the abstraction of, okay, the crime is, well, aggression. You committed aggression, therefore you are stopped from like other people aggressing against you.
Well, because they might have a different legal theory where it does make sense to steal £5, but not kill, right? And you have to take that into account because from the estoppel perspective, it literally means like, well, what does their action literally contradict in their words? And there might not be a contradiction between stealing £5 and rejecting murder. Like that might not be a contradiction there, right? And that's why I agree with Kinsella's estoppel. And actually, I think I'm, much like Konkin, I think that I'm a more consistent proponent of estoppel than Kinsella. I'm a better Kinselian than Kinsella in this respect. Because I think it's only that, right? That's all you can get out of argument, dialogical estoppel, he calls it. Because no matter what their crazy ass legal theory is, they stole £5, right? So they could never object to having that amount taken back from them. That's all you could ever get. No matter what it is, they can't object to that. They could object to £4, perhaps, £3, perhaps, £6. They could object to any other thing. They could object to like a punch in the face. They might be able to object to that, but not £5, because they've already demonstrated that they're fine with that action being taken place against somebody else. And you can't even do it multiple times, because they've only demonstrated that they're fine with it happening one time. That's all they've demonstrated thus far. Nothing else.
Okay. Before I say what I want to say next, there's another thing that I want to mention, which is addressing the DD gambit. So you know how like Dave always goes like, oh, like the things that you guys believe in, it's just so goofy, man, and that's basically the thought terminating cliche. So a lot of the things that I've been trying to argue for in this debate have been very goofy, to say the least. And like I'm the reason I'm willing to like bite all of these bullets is that okay, while an absurd conclusion might make me check my premises, the reason I don't find that concerning is because all of these like so-called loopholes and stuff can be sorted by covenant communities under a broader ethical code. So, like for example, if we somehow come to the conclusion that murdering someone while you're wearing a yellow shirt is not in fact an aggression, it might like seem like it will lead to terrible outcomes, but covenant communities can just exile those who do this non-aggressive act of murdering someone while wearing a yellow shirt. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not too sure if this what I'm about to say is loud, so I'm gonna say it slowly and stop me if you think it's not allowed.
Mhm.
So basically, your argument is that the estoppel, basically the justification for retribution, is based on their legal theory.
Mhm.
And okay, can this be? I'm not sure if I mentioned this previously. But can this be used to justify murdering political, or rather
Shut
killing
up.
political?
We're going to cap that off there. You can ask me that in
Okay,
private later.
so sure, but you understand where I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, that's why I stopped the
Sure.
conversation.
Okay, so okay, wait, so okay, I guess this does disprove my version of thing. Okay, so I guess the other thing on proportionality I wanted to ask was how specific can you go with the proportionality? Like, what if they say, "Oh, what if their legal theory is I only steal £5 that have been folded in half, and they just happen to not have any £5 that have been folded in half? Like, in that case, like, are they able to just steal £5 that have been stolen in half? Obviously, you're allowed to get restitution back, right? Like, that's your £5, you can take it back. But if a thief stole £5 that like has been folded in half, and he's like, "Oh, I only steal £5 that have been folded in half." Does that mean that you're not allowed to take retribution against them if they don't have any of that much pound?
Um, so I would have to think more about that because I'm viewing money as basically fungible.
But if the principle is like the legal theory, then I think
Yeah,
that there's vast amount of loopholes.
yeah, I'd have
I
to
mean,
think more about that.
at the end of the day, if hypothetically for some reason like the retribution just doesn't work at all, like if there's no response to this, and it's just okay. Well, they can just exploit this and never get valid retribution from you. I don't think this will be a massive problem on
Yeah, because
the
you
legal
just
theory
you
because
just exile them, like these
yeah, you just exile them,
annoying people. Like
and like
they
if
just
you don't
live
want to
in
be
the
exiled,
frontiers
like
now.
yeah, like I expect in a private society that most of the retribution would in fact be like agreed upon. So it would basically be like the criminals who aggress like will consent to like whatever you want to do to them because
Yeah, yeah,
the
that's like,
alternative, which is exile, is going to be worse.
and also there'd be all sorts of insurance involved. So like,
Mm.
if I wouldn't even be the one going to court being like, "Hey, this guy, hey, yeah, I want my money back. I want to retribution." It would be like my insurance agents who
Ah,
would deal with
right.
all that as well. So like, I would just already been paid long ago, and I'm just sitting pretty, right? And then my
Yeah,
insurance agency can deal with it. Like, and that's the
yeah,
beauty of
exactly.
insurance. Like, people hate insurance so much these days because insurance agencies are like really stingy and like they want to find any reason not to pay you. Why is that? It's because they've been killed by the state, right? Like, think about the US health insurance agencies. They have to cover pre existing conditions. Just think about how insane that is. Like, that is like a fire insurance. If I had a burning house and I was like, yeah, I'd like to take out a fire insurance policy for my house, and you just give me a bunch of way more money than I would ever than this house is even like worth potentially. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is that is retarded. No insurance agency would ever accept that. Like, go back. I encourage the people who are watching this, go and look into the Austrian theory of insurance. Go look into where insurance actually comes from. It's from pooling risks. It's from, a bunch of people in some area where they're like, hey, I might have a house fire come for me, like without my own like choosing here. So let's all get together and we'll all pool our resources. And if one person has, we all pay a little bit in. And if you are unlucky enough to have this horrible thing happen to you, then we can like rescue you and get your house back. That is such a beautiful idea. And it's been destroyed by the state. Because the state comes in and it's like, no, you also got to, pay people who are like begetting this horrible thing from happening. You know, that's why you have so many health problems in the US, because it's like the state effectively subsidizes you for being unhealthy. Same in the UK with our public healthcare. The state subsidizes you for being unhealthy. That never used to happen on the free market.
Mm, yeah, I know that like in America, like previously there had been like mutual aid societies. That
Mm.
was like they don't just pull risk together, but they also have like lodge doctors, so like you can pull your healthcare together as well and stuff like that. Um, and then the state just comes in and just affects it all. But I do agree that like what you said on insurance about how the states just I think that like there's so many different ways in which the state ruins insurance. It's not just that they're forcing the insurance companies to like basically scamming them and like forcing them to pay a bunch of really stuff that's just stupid. There's also issues of like what previously people used to that some people complain about how the insurance companies they like try to weasel their way out of insurance. I suspect that at least in some cases, they probably do like commit fraud because the state just allows fraud sometimes because well it's a state and they
Mm.
don't understand law. And another thing is like I started driving like how old am I now? So 3 or 4 years ago. Like I've been driving for a while, but like I've been driving for less than 5 years, and I'm 21 currently. I'm pretty young. Um, so like my the state forces me to get insurance. Like I'm not allowed to drive on the road
Yeah,
without an insurance. And for me, the insurance is so damn high. Like
because you're a
I've
young
never
male.
like yeah, like I've never had any issues like an actual traffic like collision issue or something. I have had a few times of exceeding the speed limits, but like that's not an aggression. Um, yeah, like yeah, I've got like no collisions or anything like that, and they still charge me a really, really ridiculously high amount, and I have to pay it because the state orders me to. So yeah, I'm pretty sure like by the time I'm old, the money I've wasted on insurance would probably just be like more expensive than an actual car if I actually got wrecked.
Yeah, and like the thing is, because they are not allowed to take into account literally everything about you. Right? There are some things they're not allowed to take into account, which
Right.
the actuaries, they want as much information as possible. Like I did a mathematics course in uni. I believe you did as well. Like you interact with a lot of people doing actuarial stuff. Like it's like all the statistics that they have to do for insurance. Um, like they want as much information about you as possible so that they can actually make like a class risk for you. Like, I mean, you don't seem like a fucking boy racer type. Like downing a fucking bunch of alcohol and drugs and then like speeding down the highway. But those demographics, they wouldn't be allowed to target them for higher insurance because then they would be accused of discrimination and the government would get involved. And this is a problem for women, actually. Harkening back to your feminist roots, women should be charged less for car insurance. Just if all you know about a person is that she's a woman, she will almost certainly cost less in terms of damages in motor vehicular accidents over her lifetime. Almost certainly, right? Because women tend to get in more car accidents, but they tend to be a lot less severe. Whereas men, when a man is in a car crash, it's normally like going 200 down the highway and completely fucking pancaking off a wall. Like, so men cost a lot of fucking money. And because they're not allowed to take into account everything about you, they aren't able to properly assess you for insurance.
Yeah, like we can't even begin to like list all the ways that the state's laws intersect and screw over, well, basically everything, but in this case, insurance. Like we listed like so many different ways of like the laws like ruin insurance, but there's also like second order effects, third order effects, and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, there's that. Okay, so there are three, I guess four questions. So I wanted to ask. One's related to economics. One's related to objectivism, and the two are, I guess, one's sort of related to aesthetics. I'm not too sure what the other one's related to, but like, how much time do you think you've got left?
We can just power through all four of them.
Okay. I guess we can keep the economics one brief. So do you remember how a while ago we were playing Beyond All Reason with Nikola Pavkovich, and afterwards we were talking about how Beyond All Reason is basically a central planning game, right? And then I was with you arguing against Pavkovich about how this will lead to the economic calculation problem, and Pavkovich was arguing that there actually wouldn't be an economic calculation problem because it's just one entity basically. And Pavkovich basically made the argument, I think later, that well, if we're gonna say that the what's it called, that a hive mind such as Beyond All Reason faces the economic calculation problem, then at that point we also need to ask if the Crusoe on the desert island also faces economic calculation problem. And I think I'm starting to agree with Chronic that I don't think Crusoe faces economic calculation problem. What's your current stance on it?
Yeah, no, I agree with whatever that guy's name is from the Mises Institute. This is like a debate which it's currently happening in Austrian economics, whether Crusoe faces the economic calculation problem. I agree with the side that it does, because well, the economic calculations problem states is that when you don't have profit loss calculations, then economic calculations are impossible, and so on and so forth, right? We all know the classic case. If you don't then go watch my video why socialism is literally impossible. So that's the position I take. Because Crusoe isn't able to do economic calculation. Now I know the counter argument that, well, he's able to do like direct comparison, but that's still not cardinal value. Like, he still isn't able to apply cardinal ranking to his different, potential lines of production. He can't do that. You need that for calculation. If you're building up a massive line of production, you need to be able to have cardinal numbers so you can compare them and contrast them and do algebra with them. If you don't have cardinal numbers, you can't do any of that, and you're left with the limit of the crow, right? Just, what do I prefer? I prefer this, and then that would require this, and then you're just fucked, I think.
Okay, right. So I guess I'm mostly on the fence on this, but I'm sort of leaning to like Pavkovich's end, where he thinks that you actually don't suffer the economic calculation problem. So I think, like, for beyond all reason, well, your number one valued end is to destroy the enemy commander, right? So all the others are basically subsets of that. It's basically contributing to that one singular end. So in this case, I think that since you have one end that's like the highest, and there's not really any secondary ones, but like the secondary ones are all like toward things that like aim towards it end, then it basically becomes an engineering problem of how do you actually go towards that end. But I don't think there's enough time for us to like get too deeply on this today. But I just want to say I'd really be interested in you having an actual debate with Nikola Pavkovich over this. Shout out to Nikola Pavkovich. I've had a lot of discussions
Yeah,
with him,
Superboy
and
Boy's in chat, by
he
the
really
way.
knows his stuff. Oh, hey there, Chronic. Haven't really been looking at the chat too much because didn't really have the most productive thing.
I could do a debate on this, but I would have to have some like prep time to refresh on my economics knowledge, because it's been a while since
Yeah,
I've
sure, no
studied
problem. It
econ.
doesn't have to be anytime soon. I know you're super busy with the videos and stuff. Okay, so the other question was on objectivism. So I haven't really got too deep into objectivist ethics yet. By that, I basically mean I've barely read anything on objectivist ethics at all. Most of what I know about objectivist ethics are from your videos and your live streams. So I think I mostly get where Rand's going, and I do agree that like selfishness is good for what Rand calls selfishness. But there's something that I'm unsure about, and I think this hypothetical might clarify it. So the hypothetical goes, let's say that you are tied to a train track, and this is an abandoned train yard, so it's unknown. Like someone owned it, but then they died, or like they just abandoned it. So like it's an unknown train yard. But you are on one track, and on the other track there are 5 people who are tied down, and next to you is a lever that you can pull, and there is currently a tram coming down, barreling down the track towards 5 people. And if you flip the lever, that tram will divert onto yourself instead. Should you or should you not pull that lever?
So you're on the track where it would divert to you if you pull the lever, to be clear.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
don't pull that lever.
should
Don't
you-
kill yourself. Yeah.
Okay, I guess then that sort of leads to what if like we scale this up? Let's say if you don't pull this lever, then like few a billion people will die. What about in that case? So that's like a tenth of the world's population, I think, or 8, yeah, something like that.
You know, I suppose the question becomes, can you still like flourish in this like post? You know, if it's going to be like you're like in some bunker or whatever, and if you don't pull this lever, if you pull this lever, then the disease or whatever gets released into your chamber. If not, it gets released into the outside world, and like billions die or whatever. Now, I don't think I
I
would be
think
able
one
to
may
flourish
have courage.
in like this world where I just walk out and billions around me are dead, and I'm just like, well, fuck, you know, I'm alone. I don't think I could flourish in that world, so I think it might be the right choice to uh, pull the lever.
Well, you wouldn't be alone because that's still like most of the population of the world, not like 7/8 of it, would still be alive. But I guess another question is that Nikola Pavkovich brought up in a discussion with me is that can you do you think you can gain values after your death?
What? How would you do that?
So do you think that nothing matters after your death? Is it all about what you can currently get on Earth?
Well, I assume the place where you're going with this is like inheritance and stuff. Like, should you build up a nest egg for your children? Um,
Yeah, I guess that would be one part of it.
yeah. So
Like, how does that help your flourishing
I
if
don't think you
you
can get things
bring
after
something?
your death, but I think you can gain satisfaction in the knowledge that you've built something real that can continue on without you. Just as you can gain pride, I think justifiable pride in people who came before you. And like, by the way, that I think this is like the justifiable sense. You know, some people try to like spin this into like, you know, white supremacy or black supremacy, where I'm proud for like the color of my skin. It's no, I personally, I'm proud for like the accomplishments that people have come before me have achieved. Like people just like me have achieved those things. They built those things. They did all that. And if they can do it, then I can do it as well. Like that's the justifiable sense of like, you know, pride in your ancestors and like patriotism. I think that's the case. But like for inheritance, I think it would give me satisfaction to know that my um inheritors are going to be able to carry on my mission. Like that's a big thing also in objectivist ethics. And also to be clear, I'm not super well read in objectivist ethics. But like the idea of like a great work, like some great work you're working towards, some great thing you're working towards. And that thing can be even greater if it surpasses even your life. Like, oh my god, what an accomplishment this person had. Like I would feel so proud if at the end of my life I was, you know, sitting there and looking out over all the things I've created that will outlast me. It's like, hey, at least my impact will still be felt. Like, I would feel so much pride from that. Justifiable pride, I think.
Hmm. I mean, before I became an objectivist, I remember that I saw a question. I think it's pretty common question, like this sort of would you rather's. But one of them was, would you rather be famous while you're alive, but be forgotten the second you die, or be like nameless when you're alive and be remembered after your death? And a lot of people are saying, well, what's the point of being remembered after you're dead? And I chose like I'd rather be remembered after my death because I just thought that like it would give me more pride to know that my accomplishments were able to like last longer. What do you think of that?
Um, yeah, it depends the extent. Like, if you could build, like, some lasting legacy in the world, like, that could do a lot of good. That could be very, very powerful. So I suppose it depends on the extent of after your death. Like, it might be, you know, local retard was shot to death after, you know, doing some dumb shit. And, you know, everybody is reposting it and laughing at you. And for like a week after your death, you're really famous. Like, you know, there's a spectrum here.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I should probably like do a lot more reading on objectivist ethics, before I can ask some actually good questions. But I guess we can move on to the next one for now. Okay, so I'm not too sure like where what original question I was going to ask, but basically I was planning on starting a YouTube channel from like before I became
Nice.
an ANCAP. So this was like around 5 months I think before I discovered your channel and became a proper ANCAP. I think I was basically like a classical liberal at the time. Yeah, I plan to like I thought that like I had a decent knowledge on a lot of issues, especially surrounding feminism, since I did a lot of research on that. So I wanted to like make a YouTube channel to like critique feminism because I thought that a lot of my critiques were like quite unique and that I haven't seen too much on the internet and stuff. But like as I was pretty much as I was like planning, I was like even working my way through the first video. That's when I discovered anarchism. And I'm like, okay, I've still got a ton to learn. So I pretty much just like put that idea like in the bank. I'm like, okay, I did say I'm gonna make a YouTube channel. I'm coming around to it, but I've mainly just been like, okay, I need to like learn all of this stuff about anarchism first. Like this is some incredible stuff. Yeah, it's still like on my list of something I do plan to eventually do. And so I guess since you are you have a pretty good YouTube channel, I'm just asking like how much effort is it? How difficult is it to make videos? Um and like yeah, I guess that's the question.
So to just make videos, it's very easy. Anybody can make a video on YouTube and post it online. My recommendation to you, this is the recommendation I give to everybody. Just start making videos. Just make a video. Your first video will be shit. The video after that will be shit. The first videos you make, unless you're like goated or something, are going to be shit. It's not going to be great quality. Just start making videos, and you know, this is something I felt, something I know others have felt. When I first started making political videos, I'd already made some gaming videos just as like for fun. When I first started making political videos, I just got the bug. That's what I call it. I just got the bug for it. I was like, okay, this is what I want to devote my life to. Like after the very first video, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. This is my thing now. You know, give it a shot. It doesn't matter how good it is. Just try new things. You'll be a brand new channel. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. All that matters is you have infinite experimentation possible to you. Like, you know, for me, I have a much less experimentation possible to me. Like, I've kind of now settled into a certain niche here. You've got the world's your oyster. You can experiment all the fuck you want. Go crazy. Right? If you think of something which might be fun to look at or listen to, throw it in there. Just go crazy. See if you like it. See if you like the process of like developing something and bringing it to production and getting that video out there and designing the thumbnail and thinking of a title. See if you like that process. And if you do, you'll stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've already got an idea of like what I want to do for the video. So I want to like obviously do a lot of ANCAP stuff, but like most of the theory stuff like you've already covered. So my idea was that I could basically do media analysis, but like with an ANCAP twist. And something that like an idea that I have that I was pretty excited about was that I can basically analyze basically different media and judge like really difficult legal cases that are like in the stories told.
Yeah, that would. By the way, that's something that I was thinking about. at one point, is judging legal cases in media. So you're on the right tracks. I think that would be a good channel. I mean, fucking
But
Legal
yeah,
Eagle already does that. Just do it better.
yep. Yeah, like, I thought Tax Brass's video on Legal Eagle, brilliant video. Yeah, really looking forward to your collaboration with Tax Brass.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna be pretty busy for the next few months because I plan to like do a lot of mathematics and really get into that. But like after like during the summer holidays, okay, I'm gonna say it on live stream so that I feel really embarrassed if I like didn't actually start it. But go on live saying, yep, I'm gonna try to make a video during the summer. Uh, need to stop being lazy and properly go through with it.
And by the way, that's the right goal to make. Don't say, I'm going to make a video every single day. Just, you're going to make a video. And you're going to see if you like it.
Yeah.
And if you want any advice throughout any of that, just ask me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Zulu. The last thing I wanted to talk about is I just have a single word written down here called writing. So you know, I remember like a while ago, Nikola Pavkovich was like on the one of the co-hosts on the show, and he mentioned about writing a sci-fi series, and I was actually like trying to write a a book as well. Like I've had the idea of writing a book for a long time, and I've basically been continuously like adding ideas to it. I've had like the initial start of the idea was probably like 2 or 3 years ago when I first got the idea for what I want to write, but it changed a lot through then. But about half a year ago, I had like a sudden inspiration, and like I basically like changed a lot about what I want to write. But like that's basically when the current iteration of my main book idea was born. But yeah, I've had a lot of chats with Nikola Pavkovich, and he really helped me like a lot with his advice on like how to write and stuff. Um, but I guess um, since you've studied like objectivist aesthetics as well, um, I'll be interested in like your view on some of the stuff. And I guess to ask a question, okay, so the main theme of my book is that I want it to be about principled versus unprincipled.
Mm.
So it's basically going to be like implicitly ANCAP, but like I don't want to like make it like NAP versus non-NAP, but just general like principled people versus unprincipled people. And the principled people will be following the NAP, but I want to frame it mainly like in the scope of principle.
So it's sort of
And
like, sorry to interrupt. It's sort of like
sure.
the Fountainhead bit for politics.
Yeah, basically.
Because like the theme of
Um,
that is integrity.
yeah. Uh, when I was like describing the book to Pavkovich, he did make a lot of comparisons to the Fountainhead, since that had a really similar theme. But I actually haven't read the Fountainhead yet because sometimes, like when I read something I really really like, it just like gets stuck in my head, and I'm kind of worried that like I might like think about it too much when I'm writing mine. I'm basically like sort of unintentionally plagiarized or something. But like my plan is basically to get most of the story down before there's a lot of stuff on my to-read list before I actually gonna start writing the book. But like my plan is just to get most of the story structure ideas down, and then read a bunch of books I think I'll really like, and then see if that inspires me to make any changes. So like the main book idea will be mine, but I can be inspired by other works later. But
Mhm.
one thing in my book that I've been struggling with trying to incorporate is basically adding difficult. My idea was to add some difficult decisions for the characters to make. They're like difficulty between whether they stick to their principle or not. And I wanted it to basically be a situation where it's tempting for them to violate the NAP, but the actual principles action will obviously be, well, to not violate the NAP. And I've been struggling to think of how to like do an impactful example that also that can fit organically into the book. For example, if suddenly like Martians come from the Martians just come and
Yeah.
like tell you to steal a candy bar, that would be like really weird in the book, right?
Hmm.
And so far, I feel like it's difficult difficult like challenges on whether you follow the NAP or not into two categories. The one category is basically the hostage situation. If you don't violate the NAP, we're gonna do something really, really bad. So that would be the Martian example, right? They're like, if you don't do the NAP, we're gonna blow up the entire planet. So the other type that I've come up with is basically sorry, I had enough brain fart.
Okay, whilst you're thinking that through, I want to go over the first or thing I wanted to mention in what you've said so far, which is you want to get the structure down before you read books like the Fountainhead and whatnot. If you do it that way, there's this great saying, "Murder your darlings." I've heard this over and over and over again in my research into editing. So it means you might spend a whole lot of time working on this beautiful sequence, and it just doesn't work, as it turns out. Slash it, get rid of it, murder your darlings. That no longer exists. Make the video better, or in this case, the book better. So, for the reading of the Fountainhead, you're worried you're going to be plagiarizing it too much. Okay, very fair. Because it is a brilliant book. So, one way to mitigate that is to think about the justification of each thing that happens. What is the justification of this based on the theme? Why is this implied by the theme and the previous actions in the book, and does this fit into my book, my story? That is the question you should be asking there. And then so you're talking about these situations where you're wanting, unless you want to respond to anything I've said there, I'll remind you of what you're getting into here now. Do you want?
No, that what you said about murdering your darlings is really good, and yeah, basically when like throughout like my process for like basically constructing the narrative, I feel like making a story is really similar to Sudoku. Like there's a bunch of things that I would really, really like to like have in the book, like some ideas that I really want to have. And then I'm like, okay, those ideas, well, there's only limited ways where you can actually incorporate them, right? So like it's like how like some numbers in Sudoku necessitate other numbers. So it's like I'm gonna start building out from there. I'm like, okay, that's an awesome idea. Like, that scene, that's just brilliant. I'm so proud of myself for coming up with that. And then like towards the end, there's only like a few things that you haven't like put in place yet. It starts getting really hard to try to fit things in there sometimes.
Hmm.
It's like you want, okay, these things are already connected, and you want to connect them all to this new thing, but then like sometimes it just doesn't really mesh, and you're like, oh no, like I've got some really really awesome stuff, but like how do I like actually fill in the gap here? And then just like Sudoku, then at the start it can seem easy when you're just because there's so much space, there's not that much restrictions. But if you don't get those starting steps right, you can like twist yourself into a real mess later on. And so yeah, that's I do think I do need to murder some of my darlings to actually
Yeah.
get the book to be really good. But yeah, back to what I was thinking about earlier. Yeah, sometimes my brain just goes blank, and then because of the pressure of like being on live stream, like it just stays blank. But yeah, the thing I was thinking about that. So the first example was the hostage situation. The second type is basically the shortcut. For example, there's a poll you made a long time back where it's like, would you, if murdering an innocent person would bring about uncapital tomorrow, should you murder that innocent person? And well, the correct NLP answer is no. Like, so that's basically like another difficult challenge. Like, you can achieve a lot of temporarily, seemingly really good consequences from committing this one act of aggression. But then, but like, so that would be a really hard challenge to resist. So,
Mm.
do you think there are other types of NAP, like difficult NAP situations besides those two?
Um, so I think the shortcut situation is really going to be a good thing to build the story around. I can't think of anything on that level where, because then you can highlight the whole idea of an effect without a cause, trying to earn an unearned value, trying to gain an unearned value. Like, I think that one's the really powerful one there. Off the top of my head, I
Mm-hmm.
can't think of anything similar. But I do want to say that I should put you in touch with Nye Ian Hersom,
Ah.
because he's really knowledgeable on writing and stuff. He's done a bunch of work on aesthetics, so
Mm-hmm.
I should definitely put you in touch with him because he probably knows more about it than me.
Yeah, I know that he wrote a paper on children's rights, but
Hmm.
I didn't know that he looked so much into aesthetics. Thanks, that seems really cool. Um, I had a thought, but I lost it, so I guess it's not too important. So yeah, I guess that's all I have for today. Thank you for having me on, Zulu. I hope the rest of the audience enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't get into too much trouble.
Not too much, no. Yeah, I'll talk to you next time. I'll see you.
Thanks, Zulu. Have a good night.
You too. All right. So, do we have any super chats to read? Pop out. Change the fan funding. I think this one's new. From Drellel 1381 for $10. Thank you very much. The delineation between defense allowed for property protection and the gentleness principle in Stream helped me understand much better where boundaries are. Thank you guys. Well, thank you. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you to everybody who came along, especially those who donated. And going to be back in the streams, back in the stream mill very soon. We're going to keep cranking them out. I'm working on a stream with Monarcho Hopian sometime next week, I believe on Wednesday, where we're going to be responding to Arthur Greenwood, I think his name is, and also some video with the Crucible guy, Andrew Wilson, and some lady. We're going to analyze that. Yeah, I'll